recorded a little clip here from YouTube, which I thought would be helpful for those who are trying to discover the I Am.
The Buddha, as he sat under the Bodhi tree, deeply observed his own mind. The Majjhima Nikaya describes his profound insights into the nature of consciousness. He saw thoughts rising and falling, like ripples, without any permanent thinker pulling the strings.
You're having thoughts in your mind, but who is thinking? So Buddha said that there was nobody thinking at all.
And we all experience that inner voice, that constant mental chatter. Buddhists call it the monkey mind, restless, always jumping from one thing to the next. Think about the kinds of thoughts that fill your mind. Planning, what's for dinner? Remembering, did I lock the door? Judging, they shouldn't have done that. Worrying, what if I fail? Just becoming aware of these patterns is a huge first step. This constant stream of thoughts can be overwhelming, but it also reveals something important about the nature of our minds. It creates this feeling that there's a solid me in the center of it all, doing the thinking. We mistakenly identify with the process of thinking and believe there's a permanent I behind it. But what if that I is just another thought within the stream? Because thoughts are impermanent. This constant change shows us that there's no fixed, unchanging self behind our thoughts.
In other words, Buddha does not believe that there is a thinker that is permanent in our mind. In fact, he doesn't believe that there is even a self thinking at all. That behind all these thoughts that we are having is only a pure consciousness. There is no self at all, just a pure consciousness that is observing the thoughts. The idea that we have a self is because of our attachment to the thoughts. If we didn't attach ourselves to the thoughts, then we would not be feeling a self at all. That's what Buddha is saying.
Here's something to keep in mind. Trying to force your thoughts to stop is like trying to stop a river with your bare hands. It just makes things more turbulent. The harder you try to control your mind, the more chaotic it can become. So, what if, instead of fighting the current, you just observed it?
It is very true, isn't it? That these thoughts, they come into us and we cannot resist them. They come coming in all the time. And stopping those thoughts is useless. Trying to throw away thoughts is useless. To dim out the thoughts is of no value. What we need to do is to observe the thoughts, let it flow by, and by just observe the thoughts. And by observing thoughts, we have a detachment. We create a distance, and we realize that we are not the thoughts at all. That even the thinker himself is just a thought, and that we are not the thinker itself.
An assumption that there's a thinker behind our thoughts, a separate self that controls them. If our thoughts aren't a fixed self, if they come and go, then what are we? This is where we start to look for that supposed owner of all this mental activity. A natural question, and a path the Buddha himself explored. It's like the feeling of somebody must be home within us. We sense there must be someone creating these thoughts, directing them. The Buddha's teachings on anatta, non-self, directly challenge this deeply ingrained belief.
Buddha is saying therefore that there is no one out there, that there is no self whatsoever. This is where my belief differs. I believe that there is a presence called I Am within me, a presence which is deeper than the pure consciousness itself. presence which can only be discovered through resonance.
Let's try a little experiment. Pause this, and for a few moments, just look for the thinker behind your thoughts. Don't try to think about it. Try to find it. What do you actually discover? Did you find anything that felt like a solid, permanent thinker? Or perhaps something else entirely? This search, this looking for a self in charge of thinking, often reveals something quite surprising: the absence of what we expected.
What Buddha discovered was very enlightening. Look for the thinker, and I agree with him perfectly. There is no thinker, because the thinker itself is a thought. But what is beneath all of it, Buddha says, is pure consciousness. But my experience showed that it's more than just pure consciousness. There is a deep inner presence within us all that makes a decision of who we are. It can only be found by resonance.
The Anatta Sutta quotes the Buddha directly. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself.
See, all the thoughts that is coming into ourselves, we must be careful not to attach ourselves to the thought. So we have to keep repeating to ourselves that this is not mine, this is not myself. We have to keep repeating this wonderful point. It is not, it is not. But then the question remains, what then are we? But according to Buddha, it is pure consciousness. There is no one there. According to me, there is someone there. It is the eternal presence that decides all of things. It's the great I am.
Wonderful story about a monk named Kamaka. He was deeply investigating this teaching. He went through each of the 5 aggregates, searching for a self. He looked at his body, his feelings, his perceptions, his thoughts, his awareness. And he couldn't find a permanent self anywhere. He realized that even the feeling of I am thinking is just another mental formation, a sankhara. It's not a thinker, it's another thought. This realization brought him great peace and liberation.
Dear friends, I'm in perfect agreement to what Buddha is saying. I'm in perfect agreement to what every monk is trying to achieve, to detach himself completely from the thoughts. To attach ourselves to the thoughts will cause so much worry to ourselves, right? We are going through life from one thought to another, and we get worried because we thought that we are the thoughts, but the truth, we are not. Kind of meditation all these years, and so I experienced pure consciousness. But the interesting thing about it is that only one day, when I observed my thoughts, suddenly the thoughts turned black together with myself. This was when I began to realize the intensity of a presence deeper than pure consciousness itself. That's right. And this is what I call the I am. What if you could realize that truth? You will realize a satisfaction deep down inside yourself, not about peace, okay? Not about serenity and detachment, but about being myself. That there's a greater presence in all of this. And this is the purpose of my videos. I have many videos that I've created. But the whole purpose was to direct to one point only, that there is the I am within each of us, and we must discover that presence. Because without that presence, there's no true satisfaction within ourselves. You see, we may have peace in our life. That's true. We may have complete liberation from the problems that perplex us. We may have that. But do we have beingness? Do we realize our being? Can you discover the very essence of me? Do you realize that? If you do, wow, you got it. And the purpose of my video is to help you to discover that beingness. Follow me in my videos.
If there's no self controlling our thoughts, what does that mean? It means thoughts are natural processes. They arise based on conditions, just like everything else. This is dependent origination applied to thinking. The Buddha explained this to a farmer, using the analogy of planting seeds. Our past actions, intentions, and experiences plant seeds in the mind. These seeds, when watered by present conditions, sprout into thoughts and feelings. Thinking isn't something we do through a separate self. It arises spontaneously, through the interplay of causes and conditions, without a need for a permanent controller. There's a freedom in seeing this, a lightness. This understanding reduces the clinging that creates so much mental suffering and dissatisfaction.
It is true, right? That all these thoughts that's coming to us, as I said in my previous video, they are our previous memories, and they cannot be erased merely by just erasing our mind. They will come to us, and we are going to suffer as a result of these thoughts that are coming to us. But one good way to solve that suffering is to observe these thoughts so that we don't react to these thoughts. Okay, that's fine. But the point is that you did evil in our past life, so we have to pay for it in some ways. But remember, the evil that we do, we have to repay. There's no shortcut for that. The guilt is inside us, and we have to repay for it. Simply by saying that we don't react to these thoughts may not be the solution after all. Say that I don't really have a self, do I? So if I simply erase the memory, I think it should be okay, because after all, there is no thinker, there is no self, there's no one there. Are you sure? Well, in your experience of life, I'm sure you realize, right? From the day you were born, you felt the self within you. No one taught you that. From the day you were in this world, you wanted to grasp whatever that is given to you, the toys that you have. From the day that you were born, and even at very early age, when you lied to your teachers or when you lied to your parents, you shiver. Who taught you that lying was wrong? But you did that, right? You avoided lies. And who told you that? If there was no one else, how is it that you wanted to do what is correct and you didn't want to lie when you were young? Isn't that right? So, and then even right now, when you are in your 20s, 30s, and whatever, you notice that your basic needs in life is to acquire, right? Isn't that right? You wanted to achieve your goals, your career. Even when you come into this video, your purpose is to see if you can manage your life and make it a happier life, isn't it? You're always thinking about yourself. Now, come on, friend. If self is merely an illusion, and the whole universe, there is no self, how is it that everyone in this world, okay, 99.99% came into this world with the idea of self? Have you ever wondered, how come this universe lied to us from the very beginning and lied to every one of us that there is no self? I'm fully aware that you will find your peace if you debase yourself. I'm fully aware, yeah, you will find your peace if you withdraw yourself. That you will find your peace if you detach yourself from the thoughts, so that you can feel unattached to all the problems that you have. I'm aware of that. But the point I'm trying to stress is that we came into this world to play a game, a very strong game. Every one of us came into the world not to live a life apart from the world, but to live within the world, to be engaged in the world with our career, with our contributions, with ourselves. Isn't that right? Everyone came into this world to feed ourselves. Isn't that right? So I don't understand why there is no self. That's the point I'm trying to stress. But if it wasn't for the angel who spoke to me that special day, I would not know too. But because the angel told me to observe my thoughts, and I did that for 10 years, and then one day, the thoughts and myself turned bright. Then I began to realize a tremendous, intense self-presence that is deeper than everything that I know. And this intense presence is the I am, which I'm trying to help you with. Because only with this intense presence can you play this game in this world and achieve what you want. Have you ever seen a successful man in this world who has no self? Please, my good friend, you need a self in order to play this game in this world, right? But you are in this world. So the deep inner presence that you have is important so that you can play your game in this world. That's right. And I'm urging you to follow my videos, subscribe to my videos, and find more answers to your question. How can I be happy? How can I get what I want? My answer to you is simple. You can reach for that I am through resonance and resonance alone. It's not about meditation, it's about resonance. And resonance is an altogether different practice altogether. But it involves meditation, of course. As the word implies, it's very clear. It's about the matching of two frequencies. That's right. How you match the frequency of your thought with the frequency of your own observer, which is a thought as well. How do you match these two? You need to practice, of course. But that's the secret of life and death. Thank you. Before I close this video, I want to say this very important thing. You see, if I observe my thoughts, and the person that observes my thoughts is the observer, you must realize that the observer himself is also a thought in your mind. So how would you be able to achieve the realization of the I am if a thought is observing a thought? It is futile, and that is what is happening. You see, you're trying to observe thought with a thought, and because a thought is observing a thought, and you would not attach yourself to that thought, and of course you'll be peaceful. But that's not the purpose of meditation. My meditation is to go inward, to discover me, not just to have peace. And I didn't realize that until that day when observing my thoughts. I did it through a resonance. And when I did that, something began to happen. Because the thought up there and the thought up here suddenly becomes breath. I entered into a black hole. And arising from that black hole is the I Am, a whole universe being recreated by the I Am. That's it.